everybody, welcome to Limitless. We're here today at the very cool Malvern Buttery in Malvern, Pennsylvania with Tamie Gangloff, also known as the Scoliosis Swimmer. Please stick around and as we talk to Tamie about her inspiring story overcoming depression, eating disorder, scoliosis, and multiple surgeries. So you've had 3 surgeries now. One was when you were...
I was much younger.
Yeah.
And so to go back to when you stop growing, now they know that you have to keep following with a doctor afterwards, but then nobody said, you're 18, by the way, you should still keep seeing a doctor to follow. It just was, you're graduated high school, you're good. And so I thought I was good.
Yeah.
And then I was I think I was 25, and I started having really severe back pain. And so I went and got MRIs and got x-rays, and my curve was much greater. It was like 25 degrees when I graduated high school, and it was 48 degrees. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
This wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to continue to increase. And so at that time, I had severe pain down my leg. I had trouble walking. And so I had some injections, and it led to just some microdiscectomy, L3-4, so they just go and remove the part of the disc that's herniated.
Okay.
And that worked well. I mean, it was very successful surgery.
Yeah.
The recovery time wasn't that long.
It's more like just like to fix that particular...
Just fix that part.
Yeah.
Because of my curve, my doctor didn't want to fix more than one level, because if they did, that's when you end up with a long fusion, which is what I have now. So, and a few years later, the same thing kind of came up, and I had a second surgery at L5S1.
Okay.
So you're lower down.
And that was the problematic one, was that one?
That was the problematic one, but really it was all problematic.
Right.
And so the surgeon at the time, I was living in Arizona, and he said, okay, well, 9 months from now, we're going to do the scoliosis surgery. I was like, oh, no, we're not.
Right.
See, I'm one of the ones, I'm not supposed to be one of the ones that has to have this done. So we're not going to do that.
Right.
So I got all my records, got a second opinion, and he said, you don't necessarily need to do this. Mm-hmm. Now, knowing what I know now, if they'd said, your discs are going to continue to degenerate, so maybe we should do this at 30 years old instead of as you get older. But I didn't know that piece, so I didn't. It is what it is. So I didn't have it done back then.
Yeah.
And the same thing. That surgery was pretty successful.
Yep.
I wasn't really active then though, because.
Oh, so you got active after this?
I got active. Really because my sister did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm so glad that's so good though. I'm so glad that you had her. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because then it was, I walked, but they discourage exercise in kids with scoliosis, which they don't do now.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really do a whole lot other than some normal exercise to try to stay healthy.
So that second surgery that you had, tell me if I have the timeline right, but I read that you had nerve damage from, so it's like, all right, you go in for the second surgery to help. Now you have nerve damage. Like what happened with that?
So the nerve damage is mostly on my right leg, and that I feel like is somewhat better since this surgery, which would make sense. But because the nerve was impinged so bad before that first surgery, it just did some permanent nerve damage. Okay. And so it's, when the weather changes, I have more nerve pain down my legs, but it's so that's just always been part of my normal.
Yeah.
So the surgery I just had done was October 30th and November 1st, and the first part was going in through my stomach and also my side to repair my lumbar discs, which were pretty much gone. I was having numbness in my foot and foot drop, which is a bad sign, and so
I don't even know what that is. What's foot drop?
I couldn't feel my foot, and so your foot doesn't really, your proprioception, your foot doesn't really know when it's supposed to pick up because there's no sensation there.
Oh gosh, okay.
And when I woke up after the first surgery, that was gone. I could feel my foot, which was just amazing.
Right away.
I couldn't breathe because he had to go in between my ribs, but the first thing I noticed was I could feel my foot.
You're like, I can't breathe, but wow, there they are.
I can feel it. I can feel my foot.
Yeah. Yay, winning.
Yes. And then 2 days later is when he did the fusion. So I'm fused from T10 to S1. And so I have a bunch of different, I have 2 rods and screws, and I also have inner body cages that have replaced my discs, my lumbar discs to replace.
Okay.
And so it was pretty intense with having 2 surgeries with 2 days apart. But
that's crazy.
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it's in the past because I heard a lot of horror stories leading up to surgery, and so I did not wake up screaming, which is one a lot of people said.
One of the. Oh my God.
Some people said it, so I did not wake up screaming.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
But I mean, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So what's next is just to keep working on my recovery. I mean, full recovery from this is 9 months to a year. I wear a bone growth stimulator every day for 2 hours.
Okay.
So that's supposed to stimulate the bone graft to, to solidify, to have my full fusion, and just continuing in physical therapy. I have a really supportive job, and so I'm able to work from home for a little bit.
That's awesome that you have
I'm
that.
out and about and travel for work, which I love. And, I'm really looking forward to doing that without pain. Because the last 6 months of travel and doing work things were really challenging and really difficult because of being in so much pain.
Sure. So. Yeah. That's so good that you have that support. With work.
I was really, I talked to my boss and was like, I'm worried that I'm going to be replaceable and I'm not going to be at work for a few months. And but I got so much support, and so it was really grateful.
Super interesting. I didn't realize that you had been going through this since you were 10. You found out your sister had scoliosis.
Right.
And then so you started testing. And then tell me a little bit about that, because as if preteen wasn't awkward enough, you got to go through this thing at that time.
Yeah, it was, I think what helped was going through it with my sister. I mean, hers was more advanced and she had surgery when she was 12. So they started following me at that time. And I didn't need a brace until I was 13. Which is just a great time for self-esteem for any young girl. To go through that and to have to wear a back brace at that time was just kind of devastating.
What did the back brace, can you tell me a little, what that looked like?
Yeah, so they're all different now, but then it's called the Wilmington brace. It was at DuPont in Delaware is where we went, and it started here and went down to below your hips.
Oh, awesome.
So there's really no hiding it under clothes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better these days, but it's still really awkward and uncomfortable, and I didn't want to leave the house at all.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that was tough.
When I got all my medical records from the time I was a kid, there were a couple statements in there that they called and talked to my parents, and they threatened to put me in a body cast because I refused to wear the brace, because it only works if you're compliant with it, and I was just...
were they serious about the body cast?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they really were going to do it?
They were going to do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm guessing you became more...
A little more compliant, but I didn't leave the house. I refused to wear it to school, so it would really just take the brace off, go to school, come home, put it on. So I really isolated myself a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
because how did that work with friends?
I removed myself from a lot of people's lives at that time.
Yeah. As a young teenager, totally, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. One of the things that you told us and that you put out on your Facebook page that's important to you is dealing with depression and helping children get through that. And I know in your article you mentioned that you struggled with depression from that. What was that like as a teenager, not being able to hang out with your friends? What did that do to you?
Looking back, I think it's really hard to actually answer in
I know,
that way.
I know.
I think for me, I was so self-conscious to begin with that I would rather have isolated myself and been home than to have to put myself out there and people see how I'm doing, see what I look like. I was ashamed of what I looked like, which I think is, even though there's a lot of support for kids these days, there's still that shame of what you look like and my body's not doing what it's supposed to do. And that word deformity, the first time you hear that from a doctor is...
They actually use that word.
Oh, yeah. They use that. I mean, because it's a deformity.
Do they still use that word?
Oh, my doctor used it for me.
Oh, really?
So part of the scoliosis is not just side to side, there's also a rotation. Mm-hmm. So there's a rib hump or kyphosis, thoracic kyphosis, but when I don't have it now, which is really weird because I'm so used to it being there, but I had this hump on the left side of my back.
Like always? Just
Always.
Yeah.
And it worsened as I got older, but it's a deformity.
Oh,
and
that's
so
gotta be hard.
part of my surgery was called a deformity corrections.
Yeah.
So hearing deformity as an adolescent, you're like, oh my God. There's
Or when you
something-
feel like your whole body's always deformed anyway, because you're
growing. Because you're growing and you're self-conscious anyway.
Yeah,
So.
no, I can't imagine. That must have been really tough. It was tough for me just to be a teenager, let alone having to go through that. So you wore the back brace when you weren't in school, and then going through all that, having to isolate yourself from your friends. There was a point in that same article, I keep coming back to that article, where you said that you had overcome that depression. What do you do to overcome that?
Well, for me, it was, I developed an eating disorder, and then a few years later, I developed a problem with alcohol. So it was many years of therapy.
It really affected. Yeah.
I mean, I think there are a lot of factors that lead to eating disorders and alcoholism, and I think I had a lot of the isms to start with, and so that was just another factor I think that really contributed to it. So the negative body image, disordered eating, that body dissatisfaction really contributed to many years of depression. And I had PTSD as well. So I had all the stuff.
All of it, yeah.
All the stuff. So really it was many years of therapy and different type of therapies. And so I feel like it's kind of similar to my recovery from surgery, right? Just sticking with it and having a connection with somebody that you trust and working through it.
Okay, so you had like a good social kind of...
In getting sober, I had a really good support there, and I had a really good therapist that I saw for many years.
So important. Like, I have friends who are like kind of like turned off by therapy because they think it means like
there's something wrong with you,
right.
There's something bad.
I'm like, it's like the best tool in the world, and to find a good therapist is hard, but when you do find one, that's awesome. I'm glad you had that. It's like so important. So you became active when your sister started doing triathlon.
Yes.
And
so
that's crazy and awesome. Like
a year or two before I started doing things, she started running and she was doing triathlons. I was like, I didn't know that we could do stuff like that.
Right.
At first, I'm like, why are you doing this?
Because didn't you have? Did I read that you had doctors or somebody who told you couldn't?
That I shouldn't run
at all. So that's all. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was like, she can do it. Maybe I can. And so she's competitive. I'm not really. So she's way faster than I'll ever be. But she.
Don't say that. This surgery, we will build her stronger, faster.
That's right. I'm bionic now. Or as my former client, her daughter asked if she's 7. She asked if I was magnetic now. I was like, I like that. I'm magnetic.
That's so cool. Yeah, actually, I wonder if that is to a degree true though.
I was like, I'll try to stay away from the refrigerator door just in case.
Oh, that's funny.
But so she was doing that. So I started doing like Couch to 5K. So I did my first 5K with her. She belongs to Mulga Hill Women's Tri Club. And so I joined that. At the time, I did my first few sprint triathlons. Yeah. I taught myself breaststroke watching YouTube videos.
Yeah. It's like huge though. This is a big deal when you're like had pain and like physical struggles, and now you're doing triathlons with your sister, the two of you. Like that's so cool.
Yeah. It was really amazing experience. I think for any woman that starts it later in life. I mean, we all have our stuff that we've been through, and medical issues, family issues, and so what I got to witness in that too is all this strength and resilience in all these women, and that empowered me more and made me want to do more.
Like you feed off of it. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I love that. So you guys were doing the sprint triathlons, and then I didn't realize until, again, reading all these articles that you learned how to swim as an adult and then found a love of open water swimming, which I know we've talked about it before, but not a lot of people love open water swimming. Even people who are professional triathletes, or a lot of them who don't even like to open water swim, and you love it.
I love it.
Yeah, and what make me love it.
Come with me and I'll make you love it. I think for me it's very soothing and grounding, and it's different than swimming in a pool. It's you see the birds fly by and you see the sun and the clouds, just even feeling the temperature change as you swim and just really being in touch with your body. That's why, well, I don't like wetsuits because I feel like I'm being like smothered, but I think that's one of the reasons I didn't like wearing a wetsuit too, because you miss out on that experience.
Just like feeling
the
connection
feeling
with everything.
being in the water.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that's really cool. And you have competed in these open water.
I say compete because
participate. It's still, well, I mean, really,
right.
though. Participated, yeah. You're doing it. You're out there swimming, yeah. And what are the distances?
So the longest distance I did it's called the Spuyten Devil. It's in New York.
What's it called?
The Spuyten Devil.
Okay.
Dival. I think it's the other one. Spuyten Devil. It's in the Hudson in New York, and it's a 10.5K.
That's like pretty brave right there too.
It was incredible. It was the most fun because you're actually swimming with the current. So
that's cool.
It took me the same amount of time it would normally take me to swim a 5K, and it was just, I had so much fun. That was just in September, this past September.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how long was that again?
10.5K.
And
then again, I went in the next day with the t-shirt on. It was a weird coincidence that my 3 appointments leading up to my surgery were the day after these big swims. And I went in with the t-shirt on. I said, I'm going to do this next year. And he said, okay, we're going to do this next year.
And that was with
my surgery, yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
So I did a swim the end of May in Virginia. And the temperature, so USMS rules, the water temperature is different. The rules are a little different than USAT. And so at 78 degrees for USAT, we know that, you can wear a wetsuit, but then you can't win an award or anything. So for USMS, it's hard stop, no wetsuit of any kind.
Okay.
And so when I was there, and I didn't expect that in May, and so the answer was no, you can't wear them. I said, well, I have to because I can't swim without them because I can't kick. And I started to panic.
And do you wear a full wetsuit or do you wear
just the buoyancy shorts?
Right. Okay.
I'm hoping that I won't have to wear them. I haven't worn them recently, so hopefully I won't have to wear them.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
But I couldn't because I couldn't kick enough to keep my legs up. Like one of the swim coaches said, it looked like I was swimming uphill. So it was just enough to keep my hips up. And so when I was there and they said I couldn't, so I ended up getting a note from my doctor. One of the swim coaches, Louise, actually said, I'll swim the first mile with you and I'll just be your eyes since you can't kick. And she stayed with me the whole time. I'm just like, it was amazing.
That is amazing, yeah.
So supportive. And so I got a note from my doctor. I reached out to USMS and I said, this is, first of all, it seemed ridiculous to compare shorts to a full wetsuit, but that's just me. And then I also reached out to USAT, and I had a pretty significant leg length discrepancy because of my curve. I still have somewhat of one, but who knows what that will do. And so I was able to get a para-triathlete classification.
Oh, okay.
So I needed to wear a wetsuit when it was not legal for a recycler to do that. So.
And do you think now, because you've done that will open that door for a lot of other people?
I hope so, because I think that the para-triathlete classification is, there's a lot that you have to read and kind of dig into with it. And I think people see it as, okay, well, if it's a obvious, somebody has prosthetic limbs or something, it's maybe more obvious, but that if you have other disabilities that are, we call it the invisible disabilities, that you still might be able to get that classification, and that means you can get additional help and and transition, and that you still can compete. It just might look a little bit different than when other people compete. So I have that now.
That's
but
awesome.
It was really stressful, and I was really passionate about it because hopefully my hope is that I'll be able to do a full triathlon again. Maybe not this year, maybe next year, but I might need additional help because, or it's going to take me 10 minutes in transition because it takes me forever to tie my shoes. That might improve over time. So that was really important to me.
You just need Velcro, lots of Velcro.
I think so. I think Velcro would be the way to go.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really good. So it's not a small thing to go through what you've been through and be participating in these open water or competing, whichever way you want to look at it, these open water swims and doing all these awesome races and just awesome things. It's a big deal. It's to overcome that much pain and still be able to do the things that you love is a big deal. And there are a lot of people out there who don't realize that they can still do the things they love and that this is not their norm now. What advice would you have for someone who's going through, it could be scoliosis or anything, but I guess specific to scoliosis, what's your advice through their process to keep themselves going?
I guess there's probably a lot of things that I would say. I mean, specific to swimming, I would say that the swimming community has been so supportive of me. From one of the coaches, like multi-sport, works for endless pools, and so when I realized I could no longer push off the wall in the pool, I went there and swam.
Oh, that's cool.
He invited me to come there and swim in endless pools. To coaches that, when I realized I couldn't kick open water anymore, gave me different, try buoyancy shorts, and they would try to coach me and help me adapt my swimming because my body is different than everyone else's.
Yeah.
And so I received so much support, and so I think the support is there, and I think I've been overwhelmed and humbled by the amount of support I've gotten from people. It's just been, I'll get emotional. It's really
okay. I cry all the time. It's fine.
I do too.
Every day.
It's just really been incredible. Like, support from people I wouldn't have even expected it from. You know, just whether it's getting a care package or people that, I signed up for Meal Train for myself, and people like cooking for you and coming to your house, and just things that I wouldn't even expect or ask of people. And it just was that kind of unconditional support. So ask for the support because it's there. And I think it's very different having the surgery as an adult than as a kid. I think as a kid it's traumatic in some ways because you're forced to have this surgery, whereas with me, I got to have many conversations with my doctor and process it. And so, post-surgery, still looking for more support in that other way. One of the coaches that really helped me, I have a lesson with her in a couple of weeks. And it's not, the goal isn't to, get faster. Right now, I have this new anatomy, and I don't know how it's going to work in the water. So I just need your help in, showing me what my body can do. Yeah. And not being afraid. I think that's part of what doesn't hinder me in open water is that I'm not afraid of the things in the water. The slimy things and the things that bump into you to the water. Just not letting that fear hold you back. Not letting the fear of what if I have more pain, or because I don't know what the outcome is going to be ultimately. I mean, we decided on the surgery because it was time. My body told me it was time, and my doctor told me this is a life-altering surgery, and that was kind of terrifying to hear. Like, what does that mean, life-altering surgery? But I just had to, go with it. Yeah. And life-altering, I mean, the hope is that it's going to be, positive. Yeah. But I think how my mind works, and maybe a lot of other people's, is you hear something that's life-altering, and you're like, oh, my God, what does that mean?
It means, you're going to have to live in a bed for the rest of your life.
Am I going to, the first time I got in the water, once I got cleared after my 6 weeks follow-up, and he said I could get in the water, I just was walking in the water and was like, let me try a couple laps, and I did a very slow 50 meters, and I started to cry. I was like, I didn't think I was going to be able to do this. That was one of my fears. He said I would be able to, but I didn't for sure.
Self-doubt creeps in.
I can do that.
That's so good.
Yeah, my physical therapist says, you'll be able to ride a bike again and run again.
That's so
short
good.
distances, but
that's so good.
In physical therapy, I think a lot of people don't maybe do their PT at home, and so I was telling my physical therapist a couple weeks ago, while I was waiting for my coffee to brew, I was doing some of the walking stretches around the kitchen, and she kind of laughed. She's like, "Can you do that?" I said, "Of course I do that." And I said, "It's not the same thing as a transplant, but I feel like it is. I've been given this gift and a new opportunity to have, at 43, now 44, to have a new spine, and so I need to do everything I possibly can to stay strong and get stronger and really protect this gift, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime surgery, as my doctor said, and so I really need to take care of that.
Absolutely.
And it's a gift.
Yeah. Lately, we've been realizing also, and I think you kind of said it without even meaning to say it, that just people telling their story is something that's helpful, because probably by you telling your story, no matter what somebody's been going through, it probably meant something to them, inspired them, or they just wanted to see you succeed, because seeing you succeed means anything. can be successful. I know the meeting people like you and just the people that we meet every day, that's not going to get all this yet. But those are the things that are important because you're like, wow, if that person can do it, then like, so can this other friend I have is going through this, or so can I, or so can anybody. So I think it's, you were talking about the support you got, just being brave enough and like caring enough to share is sometimes what people need. So sometimes it's not even about like us and what we're going through, you know. So I think it's really, I'm glad that you share your story. Your Facebook page is awesome. I was going through it. You have like so many resources and just articles and inspiring things on there that and we'll put it on the link on the Facebook post. So if anyone's going through or surviving scoliosis or even just anything, there are some really great resources on your Facebook page. So what's next? What are you working on next?
Some really great organizations that have different purposes, and so National Scoliosis Foundation is one of them. Actually, the president who I got to meet is a really cool guy, and he's actually, him and many of his family members have scoliosis, and he had his 6th surgery in December for scoliosis, and so he six.
Wow.
So he really gets it, and I met him at the book launch for Spines, which is the book that I was in, and 100% of the proceeds go to NSF, and it was this 17-year-old young woman, very talented photographer, and she took photos, black and white photos of our backs for her book, and told a little bit about our stories.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just to really spread awareness. Mm-hmm. There's 1 in 40 people have scoliosis, and this is
1 in 40.
1 in 40.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a lot more than you think, and it's a lifelong journey. It's not something that's cured and you move on. It's something that you're working, you deal with for your whole life. So that was her goal with the book, and also to raise money for them.
Yeah.
And so there are some great support groups for adolescents now, which I think is amazing. I wish that we had something like that when I was a kid. But I'm so happy that they have Curvy Girls now for adolescents, but I haven't been able to find support for parents. Some parents attend some of the support groups with their kids, but there isn't something specifically for parents. So I've been talking with the president of the NSF about starting a parent support group. So hopefully that's something we'll be doing this year.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like there's a need for it.
There's definitely a need for it. I mean, it's not that different from what I do for work as far as working with parents whose kids are really struggling with something.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So thank you so much for meet for coffee today. It was good to catch up. I feel like I don't feel like we have not seen each other in forever. And it's awesome to hear like how well you're doing. And I think it's really great that people can hear your story and gosh, even if it only just helps like one single person to hear you talk about what you've been through, that's worth gold. So we'll make sure on our post that we include your Facebook page, the link to your article, and then any other resources that we mentioned that you think would be really important for people to hear. So Scoliosis Swimmer right here, and she likes open water swimming.
Love it.
You did swim
I will get you to love it.
So that I can